Maserati into the side of him. Red flag is immediately out. All drivers are okay.
But one big cat escaped unscathed as Mitch Evans reigned in Rome for Jaguar.
Across the line comes Mitch Evans to win for Jaguar TCS Racing. Who's the king of Rome? Jaguar! Yes!
We have a new championship leader, but this is far from over.
This is a grudge match of colossal proportions, a fight for the most prestigious title in electric racing. The streets of Rome, the arena for our gladiators. Contenders ready for the Hankook Rome E-Prix.
Lights out and we're underway. Good start from Mitch Evans. Oh no!
That was crazy.
Across the line comes Mitch Evans to win in Rome.
Come on, baby.
Yes!
Good afternoon, hello and welcome to round 14 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. It is race time and this is live coming to you from Rome, a city where 2,000 years ago one of the favourite sports on planet Earth was to watch chariot racing. Well, yesterday's Formula E race was befitting of that ancient spectacle. We started with 22 cars, we finished with just 12, and the result of that is we now potentially have just a two-horse race. Now for everyone else, it's a case of nothing can be won in Rome, but everything can be lost in Rome. And so to talk about that and much besides, I'm delighted as ever to be joined by reserve Abt Cooper driver Kelvin van der Linde and former Andretti driver Ollie Askew. Ollie, let's talk about the last 24 hours. Mitch Evans, the King of Rome, retained his crown. What a performance.
Yes, you said it. He is the King of Rome. He is head above everyone else here at this track. He's looking at a potential 4 in a row here, counting last year wins in Rome. So he is now inched closer to the lead of this championship, now 20 points out in P3. He's doing a fantastic job.
And that took him from 4th in the championship to 3rd in the championship. Now, yesterday's performance also took Nick Cassidy from 2nd in the championship to leading it, Kelvin, but by only 2 points. This is so close.
Yeah, Nick Cassidy, he's been brilliant. Great rebound from yesterday's qualifying to put the thing on the front row. He's right in the mix in that sandwich for the championship. So he's probably got the most, let's say, stress on his shoulders today. He's going to be looking in the mirror with Mitch Evans, for sure looking to attack early on in the race, but he's also got to make sure he gets past Jake Dennis early on.
And talking about Jake Dennis, he is pole sitter, a superb qualifying. And again, 2 points behind Nick Cassidy. Oh, this is on.
He grabbed that extra and that crucial 3 bonus points for taking pole here today. He is driving really, really well. That Jaguar powertrain is probably the best at this track at the moment, and he's got that extra out of that Porsche powertrain in the Avalanche Andretti. He's done a really, really good job this weekend. I think it's going to be a close race.
It really is probably going to be a close race. That's the things as they stand in terms of the championship. However, that all came in the wake of one of the most frightening incidents I've seen in Formula E. And to unpick and unpack this one, let's head over to Saunders.
So back down at the E-Pad, delighted to be joined by Alan McNish. Now, yesterday we saw one of the biggest incidents, I think, if not the biggest, we've seen in Formula E history. And what we have now are some previously unseen extended angles. So let's go through them and kind of see the timeline of how all this unfolded, starting with, of course, Mr. Sam Bird.
Yeah, he's coming up through turn 6, very, very fast corner, very bumpy. The car just hits the ground and spins him around. He's in the wall at this stage. If you look at the title contenders passing on the other side, because Nick Cassidy's just gone through, Jake Dennis has just gone through as he's spun across the road and hit the barrier now on the inside before rebounding into what is a driver's worst nightmare, the middle of the circuit.
So now we can see all the drivers that were involved and also the drivers that managed not to be involved, crucially, purely just by where Sam Bird is on track.
Yeah, no, there's a little space to one side, half a space to the other, and they just made it through. But it's now where you see Edo Mortara comes round blindsided, and there's nowhere for him to go, and he just ploughs into the side of Sam Bird. And thankfully, you see the safety of the monocoque of Sam's car that is so strong, and also the nose ultimately later on of the Maserati, that actually Sam's still sitting in there being harpooned, but he is okay.
And this gives us another angle where we can see a bit more what happened to Sebastian Buemi and also the It seems like they're going through this incident so fast, Alan.
Well, it's the speed. It's one of the fastest parts of the circuit, and as you see, it's very narrow, and there's just limited space both sides. And unfortunately, you had this position as we're now on board with Buemi. And look at it, as Sam is now then coming back into his line of vision, and the angle is up against the wall, and he's so close to actually going over, but the wall pulls himself back down. There's a little fire underneath this car as well. Sebastian was a very, very lucky person.
So let's just talk about two quick safety things. The halo, of course, being crucial, massively influential in helping Sebastian Buemi here, but also in this next onboard with Antonio Felix da Costa in the Tag Heuer Porsche, where it perhaps saves him even more. If we just get to that clip, it's the rest of this car.
One other thing is the front wheels were still attached to the car, very important. Here you see da Costa.
Stop that there.
You look at that. This is the floor of Buemi's car. That is 900 kilos of car. If it had come back down, then the halo definitely would have saved him.
Correct. And let's have a look at these last few bits here. Another couple of onboards. But yeah, you know, we see how many people were involved, but also crucially, like I said earlier, how many people weren't involved. Remarkably, all of the championship contenders managed to avoid this incident, and it kept things very spicy.
Some people were just ahead of the incident, some people just threaded it through, and some people, honestly, pure luck.
It really was an unbelievable incident. Thank you so much to Alan and Saunders for unpicking that one. Now, Kelvin, in terms of the car behind us here, Sam Bird, the condition we saw that in 24 hours ago to the condition we see it there is just incomprehensible. The team have worked tirelessly on this.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. I've been in a couple of WhatsApp groups, and a lot of teams actually had to request an extension of their curfew. In Formula E, we have a curfew around 9 p.m. So a lot of these teams are pretty much in all night, and as you can see, a big job. I know to build up a car like this generally takes a week. So for the team to do that in less than 24 hours, it's an absolute miraculous turnaround. And for him to be so far up the grid obviously shows the quality of the team.
And I'm just going to ask to see if we can possibly get a shot of Sam, who's currently speaking to German TV behind us there. He's standing out in qualifying. He in the very first part of the duels, he competed against his own teammate, Mitch Evans, and then team orders essentially meant that he allowed Mitch to go ahead of him. The great news is, Sam is in fine fettle, he's healthy, he is recovered, he's mentally prepped, and how he's managed to emotionally turn things around is absolutely testimony to the athlete that he is. And just in terms of this now, there are no team orders here. This is about Sam giving it his absolute all.
Yeah, Sam really is a guy in the firing line at the moment. He needs to go for it. He needs to prove to a lot of people that he can still do it. Obviously, mentally, it's always difficult to rebound from a big accident. You're not really in the form of your life. We did see, though, that he's got the potential in qualifying to at least go with Mitch Evans until he obviously backed out of that lap. So he's got the potential. He just needs to convert that into the race, and I think it'll do his confidence a whole lot of good.
Well, here is the man here. Sam, very quickly, how are you feeling right now after yesterday's incredible circumstances?
Yeah, small headache, not going to lie. But look, Jaguar have done a great job in getting the spare car ready. We do have an issue on the car that I can't do anything about. It's going to cost me a little bit of energy per lap, but we'll try and hang on in there. You know, the quali was great. Good team positions, fourth for Mitch, fifth for me, and see what we can do today. I mean, there's no reason why we can't go forwards.
And Sam, just very quickly, a word for your team for turning that car around, by the way.
Well, it was a brand new car. The other one you can put in the skip. So, I mean, there's nothing left of the other one. I've never seen such a big hit in Formula E.
Well, we're glad that you're well and do race well today. Thank you for your time, Sam. Thanks for coming.
Cheers, thank you.
Cheers, Sam. Well, that's Sam Bird getting an update on this, and this is the incident that we saw a little bit earlier with Saunders and Alan. I mean, just what would have gone through his body at this time, the fear, and then you'll see just how quickly the cars come flying past at 130 miles an hour. Thankfully, everyone walked away and they were okay. The cars, as Sam alluded to there, were far from that. The course of the last 24 hours, these teams have worked tirelessly, it's safe to say. But as for us here on the grid, so much more still to come. Lots of drivers to talk to ahead of what's going to be a fantastic second in the doubleheader of the Rome E-Prix. When it comes to winning a championship, it's not all in the hands of the drivers. We caught up with Tamara Stribe on her work engineering a championship contender for Team Avalanche Andretti.
I started back in the factory, developing a powertrain, and now I'm here on trackside to support the Andretti team. Yeah, Formula E is really special because we are driving with electric powertrains, and therefore energy management is really important, and also the efficiency of the powertrain. And because all the cars are so equal and the powertrain is the only thing that really steps out, it's quite a challenge to get out the maximum performance of the powertrain.
Jake Dennis goes into second place. Jake Dennis da Costa must be weak on power or something because he had to lift off so early.
I think in the beginning of the season you can clearly see that we had an advantage in case of energy management and energy consumption overall.
Jake Dennis starts Gen 3 of Formula E with a superb, dominant win in Mexico City.
Having Tamara on board is a huge thing for us because she takes obviously the rear powertrain. She excels in that area, but yeah, it's super important to bring her along and just look in the finer details, you know, if there's any oscillations, if there's any like battery temperature issues, she has a really good understanding for that.
We are constantly developing the car, so it's not done in the beginning of the season. And so it's a process that is going on and we are learning new stuff for every event. The driver needs a car that he can perform in, and especially this is a really big challenge. And you have to see it as a whole car, as a system, not only as a powertrain. So you have to work together with the suspension, with all the setup and stuff. And there you have to take the whole picture. Margins between winning a race and not being on the podium is really close, especially in Formula E. When you have a car that is not perfectly in the window or you have one driving mistake, then you're already out. So it's quite a big challenge to be always on top, and it's not an easy one.
It's not always the easiest situations to come into a new team from Porsche to then come into like a customer team, and she's really excelled.
The team spirit here is really nice. Everyone is working really close and they're pulling on the same side. So it's a really good relationship between all the people here. Especially with Jake, I think we are doing a good job right now. A few podiums in the last races, and hope to continue like this. I think Rome is a special track because it's a little bit bumpy. So we had some discussions going on and some preparations in the simulator also to cover all the stuff. We have been here, or the team have been here quite a few times, so we have a bit of experience on this track. And let's see how it goes.
It is a huge day here in Formula E, and you can see it's absolutely packed with fans, undoubtedly in no small part because the drama that unfolded in yesterday's race. Everyone wants to come down and witness what's going to take place today. And what took place earlier on this morning was qualifying, and that, as ever, the D word basically for this weekend, dramatic, including that final duel, Calvin, because it was just, I mean, you didn't know which way it was going to go between Jake Dennis, Nick Cassidy, 1 and 2 in the championship, and it was all about that 3 points.
Yeah. Both of them were all in. You could see it really, the attitude of the car, both of them fighting a lot of oversteer with the increased temperature today. No doubt the tires were on the absolute limit. They both knew it was do or die basically for those 3 points. In the case of Jake Dennis, it obviously helped him get a little bit closer now in the championship fight. Every little point is going to count at this point. And as we go take a look at some scenes of that final, really spectacular seeing them both on the ragged edge. And that's what we love to see in Formula E.
It wasn't perfect, but it was all about simply beating the other guy.
It really was, and we spoke about that mental edge. You could see Jake Dennis, it really gave him that confidence, that mental upper hand, and obviously this team here celebrating like no tomorrow, right next door the Envision boxes. So you could see absolutely big deal there for the guys.
The energy is palpable and tangible with Andretti. You can see it in Roger, you can see it in Jake. Jake, by the way, seems like a different guy, and when he's confident, he's always dangerous. Now we've got to talk about the other side of the championship spectrum. In terms of that top 4, those championship contenders, is Pascal Wehrlein. Slightly adrift in points. He needed a good quali and didn't get it.
Yeah, you have to feel a little bit for Pascal that he just really wasn't able to convert it this weekend. You get the feeling in every interview the guys from Porsche giving, they're just not getting it together. And you can kind of understand it. They've got a customer car which is leading the championship, or basically fighting for the championship. And it can't be an ideal situation for Porsche right now.
Well, if you take a look at those there, that really illustrates that A, the closeness of the top 4, but how they've had it handed to them. So in terms of wins, Jake Dennis massively down on the other guys who are all on 3. In terms of podiums, though, he leads the way. Now, until yesterday, the story of Jake Dennis was podium or no points. As for someone like Nick Cassidy, it's been very much consistency. For Mitch Evans, it's been a recent resurgence and a couple of wins, and then you're not exactly sure what you're going to get. But in terms of being a clutch performer, he is pretty much second to none. And as for Pascal Wehrlein, Could he potentially upset the apple cart? Could he potentially put a cat amongst those top 3 pigeons, or is it really a 2-horse race? Well, let's find out how he's feeling as he's over with Saunders now.
So I'm here with Pascal Wehrlein, starting from P15. Now talk to me about what you need to do now to keep this dream alive, have a good race, and crucially, move up the order.
Well, today will be a bit more difficult to overtake because we do less laps, so meaning that we also do less energy saving. But yeah, we need a good start for sure, clean first laps, and then I think a lot can happen, as we saw yesterday. But yeah, qualifying pace was obviously disappointing. That's what we struggle since the last couple of races quite often, and yeah, that's where we need to improve.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing what you can do, and I've got to say, regardless of the heat in the atmosphere, you're looking very cool.
Thank you very much. You too.
Thanks, see you at the end.
Well, I'm currently sitting in front of a pole sitter here, Jake Dennis, who's speaking to his team. Now, I'm going to see if we can potentially get a word, because Jake Dennis is brimming with confidence right now. And no surprise, the amount of front rows he's had, the latter end of this season, has been remarkable. And it has to be said, Jake, can we talk about your confidence, mate? Because yesterday, ahead of the race, you were a little bit apprehensive. Once again, we're seeing the chest is out, the shoulders are back, different Jake Dennis again.
I got a better car, that's why. Yeah, I mean, she's performing well. We tuned her up overnight and she's singing. So, yeah, the race is going to be different for sure. But, I mean, we took it to the Jags today. Yesterday we were missing around about half a second, and today we beat them. So, full credit to the guys to give me that, give me the car, give me the opportunity to fight the pole, 3 points. And, yeah, I mean, my main rivals are literally like 2 meters behind me, so.
We love it for that reason, and given the amount of traction that the Jag powertrain has, by the way, is saying an awful lot that you're currently in pole. On a personal level, are you excited about this? I know you're a driver, I know obviously you keep emotions to one side, but is it exciting?
Oh, it's super exciting, you know. I think you guys at home and the fans here have like literally got the best case scenario. You've got 3 of the championship rivals in the top 4 spots, so you couldn't have asked for anything more. It's going to be a really tactical race with a tap mode and stuff like this, so we'll try and put on a good show for everyone. I mean, I want to win this thing, they want to win it, so it should be a pretty good Sunday race.
And ahead of London, mate, you're making it very, very exciting. Race well today, my friend. Now we're going to walk this way now to go from pole sitter to P2, Nick Cassidy, who, by the way, in terms of pressure, is absolutely off the charts. We're going to see Nick Cassidy, who's currently over here being interviewed. Now, in terms of Jake Dennis, you can tell an awful lot from him. He's either buoyant or perhaps he's a little bit despondent, as I alluded to. However, Nick Cassidy always keeps his powder dry. Now, he's somebody who possibly talks his chances down and then delivers like the mailman. This season, he's been absolutely fantastic. We call him Consistent Cassidy. He's been a little bit of a stealth man. Saunders used to call him the silent assassin, and we're going to head over to him right now. You see that thumbs up? They go out, we go in, like precision German engineering. Nick, I'll take a seat here, mate, even though the tarmac's very warm. How are you, sir? Just 2 points leading this championship. It couldn't get any closer.
Yeah, I'm okay, man. It's like a drive-through, isn't it? One after another. Got my engineer over there. I'm waiting just to go through strategy and stuff. So we're going to be really quick, aren't we?
We're going to keep it very quick. How actually are you feeling ahead of this one?
I'm okay. I'm feeling like today a lot better with the car. Qualifying was our best qualifying of the year. I really felt, you know, we're obviously so close to pole, so we have good chances in front of us, and it'll be an exciting race.
And in terms for you, what does success look like? Is it podium? Is it win? What actually is it today?
Don't know. I haven't thought about that, but just the race itself, we focus on that. We try to go for the win. If we can't win, we finish second. If we can't finish second, we finish third. It's the way it is always.
Keeping it simple, Nick. Race well today. Thank you for your time as always. Now, in terms of the track here, I mentioned the warmth. After quali, the track temperature was 53 degrees. It is getting even hotter. And with all these people and the temperature, it really is absolutely off the charts. But it's undoubtedly warming itself up into what will be an unbelievably exciting race here in Rome for day 2 of the double-header. The Driver's Room gives Formula E fans an exclusive look behind the scenes as drivers watch back the race action before the tyres have even cooled down. This innovation catches raw reactions with no filter, with some interesting results. New boy in the class of 2023, Jake Hughes was the first to catch attention this year. At his FE debut in Mexico, the McLaren driver could barely believe the intensity of the racing.
Hughes
holds the inside line coming into turn 3.
Is that Formula E? We didn't say it was easy. It's harder than GP2, right? It's not Formula Easy. That's the hardest race we've done.
And Hughes is still
He's
defending.
out of energy.
He's out of energy.
This car's dead, no, it's dead.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Oh dear. Oh, Mitch. Mitch is going to be so angry with me.
From teammates taking each other out,
Super Leon's teammate. The two Jaguars collide.
Sam hit Mitch.
to teammates winding each other up. We've seen it all.
Seb, what happened, dude? I thought the win was yours, man. What happened?
You were down on energy a bit than them, or?
But not everyone wanted their reaction to be heard.
Oh, it's lovely, yeah?
There's been late defending.
What the f was that?
Oi!
That was a bit late, huh?
Loose manoeuvres.
Oh, it's running. What happened there?
Can't back your car there, mate.
Gunter is trying to pass Tictum, and Tictum's blocked him up Beau Rivage.
He just crashed straight into me, mate. Mate, if the stewards give me anything for that, like, I didn't do anything. He just crashed straight into the back of me.
You cannot overtake really.
No, no.
And utter disbelief.
Oh, no. No. Who's behind? Who's
Sam?
Yeah. Oh. Oh, no.
Mitch didn't even apply the brakes, he's just in disbelief. Rolling backwards.
On the crash box.
Aye. Oh, and a big crash there on the left-hand side. Something's happened, a huge crash there.
Whoa! When your rivals are watching your every move, there's nowhere to hide in the driver's room.
Down the inside!
Oh! You're out of this.
That's a good one.
We're done? Jeff said we're done.
Well, the grid here is beginning to clear, which means we are now minutes away from getting the action underway here. Just bumped into one of the world's fastest men, the Olympic champion in the 100 metres, Marcel Jacobs. A shot there of René Rast, looking cool, calm and collected. Thankfully for him, he wasn't involved in a big incident yesterday, but many of the cars here have had unthinkable rebuilds. So much that went into those, the teams have worked tirelessly on those. And so let's find out more with Oracle Saunders CB.
Thank you very much, Razzie. Yes, you made a great point there. The rebuild was remarkable. And we're going to go through it now. But it all started with this man getting into his car, Jake Hughes. Now, he had a shunt in qualifying that meant they needed a new tub. Now, at that point in the day yesterday, pre-race, pre-incident, Tag Heuer Porsche over here were all too kind to say, you can have our spare tub, not knowing that they would need it later in the incident in the race. But it gets more than that, because if we turn this way and head over to the DS Penske at Jean-Eric Vergne, this was a car that, although it was involved in the incident, managed to get off practically scot-free and didn't need a change of tub. So they were able to donate their Stellantis spare tub to Maserati. And Eduardo Mortara, who's just up there in front of me over my shoulder, who was very kind to accept that and have that car rebuilt. It doesn't even stop there, though, because you just look one across from Eduardo Mortara and you have Sebastian Buemi, who also needed a spare tub and was very grateful to receive that from the Formula E spares garage. And that's just a little pocket of 4 or 5 cars here that realistically might not have been here if it wasn't for the hard work of the mechanics and engineers overnight to rebuild these cars. I said it before and I'll say it again, nothing short of remarkable.
Now, one thing we haven't spoken about, by the way, are the effect not just of the Drivers' Championship. All these drivers care about winning and ultimately winning the championship, being crowned world champion. But for the team, for the constructors, they also care about the team's championship. Now, it's currently separated by 30 points, which is the accumulation of the 2 drivers in their team. It's 30 points separating the top 3. We have Envision, Porsche, Jaguar. If you like, 230 points, 210, 220, 30 points separating them. And just for clarity, this matters financially to the teams.
Yes, you can argue that financials and performance go hand in hand here in Formula E and across all forms of motorsport. So yes, it's extremely important, though right now these drivers that we were just speaking to, are only worried about that World Drivers' Championship. It's an ABB Formula E World Drivers' Championship, and that's something that everybody wants to have on their resume.
What it also means, Calvin, is so we have Jake Dennis over there, the pole sitter, but in terms of Andre Lotterer, they care about his performance. Nick Cassidy's behind us there in P2, but they also care about Sebastian Buemi, so it's about the other driver as well.
Yeah, 100%. We've seen a lot of discrepancies between the two teammates, not always being able to back up their guy for the championship. I think the only teammate that's really been in the thick of things has been Sam Bird, really. Unfortunately, he had his DNF yesterday, but he's always been on the pace of, let's say, Mitch Evans, been able to run in the top 5. So for the team championship, you've got to say it's going to be very important, and looking towards Jaguar's favour at the moment.
And does that mean possibly for the second drivers, they may try and play things safe and just try and get some guaranteed points to try and assist that team championship chance?
Yeah, and certainly right now, if we're looking at this grid, it's the two Jags, Mitch Evans and Sam Bird, who are doing the best for the team's championship points right now. We could see some games being played, maybe Sam Bird helping Mitch Evans if it comes down to it in this race.
One of the reasons that we love Rome, it's very much a stalwart of the Formula E calendar. It's a proper street racetrack. It's thin, it's narrow, but it also comes with tradition. And with that in mind, we can now listen to the wonderful national anthem of Italy. Italiani, the Italian national anthem. But as for us, we're looking forward to the action getting underway at the Rome E-Prix.
Well, the drivers lining up on the grid, ready to go ahead of round 14 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship as the Italian national anthem concludes here in Rome, and what an absolutely wonderful rendition it was, down just in front of the obelisk at turn 15. That's right where the attack mode activation zone is going to be for the drivers. Weather an absolute scorcher here today, as you can tell. Track temperatures here, Alan McNish, exceeding 60 degrees already.
Yeah, they're very, very hot at the moment, air and track, and it's going to be a pretty hot race. And I think as the fans are obviously now coming in to watch something that I'm sure and certainly hope it's as exciting as yesterday, but without all the incidents and drama around it as well, though.
Absolutely. Well, the drivers are lining up on the grid as we get ourselves ready, and action stations are plenty for round 14 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. Very good afternoon. Welcome to Rome in Italy for round 14 of the 2023 ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. It is the Hankook Rome E-Prix, the second of our double-header races here this afternoon, ready to take place in the scorching sunshine in Italy. Air temperatures exceeding over 35 degrees Celsius here today, but this Rome circuit, it's hot on track in terms of the action as well, Alan.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's the longest circuit on the calendar, and it's got some very important corners. Braking and overtaking up into turn 7 after the long fast sweep of turn 5 and 6. Then you've got the attack mode round the obelisk, long left-hander at turn 15. You can use that extra power to overtake into the next corner as well. And then the final turn, turn 3, as you brake down the hill. Now that leads us into the start, which is an offset as well to the finish line. So they're going to creep themselves down to that point.
Well, 22 drivers lining up on the grid. Sasha Fenestraz not able to set a time in qualifying. He's got Roberto Meri for Mahindra alongside. It's an all-apt Cupra Row 10 with Robin Frijns and Nico Muller. Then Stoffel van Dorn, difficult qualifying for him, down in 18th on the grid. Andretti Avalanche's Andre Lotterer lining up alongside him. Then it's Sergio Sette Camara and Pascal Wehrlein lining up P15. Lucas de Grassi in 14th with René Rast. Difficult qualifying for him in the Neon McLaren. Just up the road is Jean-Eric Vergne. Strong 5th place for him yesterday, with Jake Hughes making his first start of the weekend owing to a crash in qualifying, putting him out of contention for the race yesterday. Felix da Costa lining up next up on the grid. Then you've got Sebastian Buemi and Dan Ticktum, who made it into the duels for the 5th time this season. Just up the road is Maxi Günther. 3rd place yesterday for Maserati. Can he repeat that feat with Sam Bird alongside? Race 1 winner Mitch Evans alongside him for company on that row of the grid. He has got Norman Nato, and then the front row is Nick Cassidy and the pole sitter of Jake Dennis, getting crucially 3 points in qualifying, closing that 5-point deficit to Nick Cassidy, who tops the standings, down to just 2 points ahead of this round. So this is going to be hugely exciting here, Alan. I'm sure we're going to see some fireworks in the title battle.
Yeah, we are. There's no question about it. It's getting to that real pinch point in the season. We go from here in Rome after today to the final 2 races in London, and it is important for the championship battle that people at the front come out unscathed with the maximum points they can. And the best thing for us, 3 out of the top 4 title contenders are in the front 2 rows of the grid.
Well, in case you missed it for round 13 yesterday, there was an almighty crash on lap 9, and essentially we had a red flag for a very prolonged period of time. It eliminated a good number of cars. 21 started the race, only 13 took the checkered flag once the race had restarted and then been rerun. In total, there were 27 laps. Here for round 14, 24 laps for the drivers to contend with. So fewer laps. What's that going to mean in terms of energy management here?
Yeah, it means that basically track position's a little bit more important, and that's something I think as well by the fact of who is at the front. They'll want to try to dominate it. We've got Jake Dennis on pole position. He wants to make sure that when it is the real sprint right at the end of the race, then he's ahead of Nick Cassidy behind him. But also I think it's very interesting when you look at Mitch Evans there in 4th. He needs to win this race to get him really in the big points for the title battle, and so therefore I expect him to be moving forward as quickly as possible, as now they just creep down to the start line at the bottom of this hill, preparing to have the run to the first corner.
Yeah, trying to conserve as much energy as they possibly can. They'll come round this final corner, make their way onto the starting grid. That's when we'll see a few burnouts taking place as drivers try to get a little bit of heat into the tyres ahead of the start. As you say, Mitch Evans there, winner yesterday. Perfect weekend so far for him in the Jaguar. As far as round 13 went, pole position, fastest lap of the win, managing to get a maximum points haul of 29 for Jaguar. Absolutely brilliant for him. On the other side of the garage, though, was Sam Bird. Brilliant recovery from him regardless, to manage to make it onto the grid, and he lines up in 5th place on the 3rd row. So drivers then lining up and getting themselves ready. There's Nick Cassidy. Amazingly, only his first front row start of the 2023 season. What about Dan Ticktum starting a bit further up the order than he's used to in 7th place? Somebody starting a bit further down, Pascal Wehrlein, down at 15th on the grid.
Yeah, very difficult qualifying for him, and he's got to try to get something out of it, but it's going to be a hard one. Watch out for Günther as well, 6th place, because he was one of the feisty ones yesterday, getting his elbow out, really attacking.
Well, the green flag is waved at the back. The team principals watching on inside the garage then as we wait for action to begin. It's 24 laps for round 14 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. Championship here in Rome. The Hankook Rome E-Prix is underway, and it's a good start from Jake Dennis. Immediately crosses over to try and thwart the charge of Nick Cassidy. Down towards the first turn, you can see there that we've got moves being made up the inside. Looks Mitch Evans for third place. Does he manage to make the move stick? He's not quite close enough on Norman Natto, and just runs side by side as they come on the run through in towards turn 5 and 6. Down through, there we go. Great start though from Jake Dennis. He manages to lead the way from Nick Cassidy. Norman Natto though hot on his heels as they come up the rise in towards turn 7. This is where the big braking zones are going to come in. Mitch Evans looking any which way he can. Up the inside goes one of the Maseratis there as well. Is it all concertinas up here?
Yeah, this is into turn 7, and there Natto has gone into second place. So the Nissan has actually overtaken the Envision as he's gone into second place. Great move, very, very opportunistic.
Riding on board here with Sam Bird very briefly. So now the two Jaguars running 4th and 5th in this one. So Bird going to try and play a rear gunner roll to Mitch Evans, but Mitch needs to make ground while he can in this opening lap of the race. He's getting himself up as high as he can. His next target, Nick Cassidy.
Yeah, another person that's made a little bit of ground. Dan Ticktum jumped up into 6th place as well. Good start and quite aggressive. He made his move round the outside into that turn 7.
Yeah, coming in towards the obelisk we are. This is turn 15, awaiting the drivers very shortly. Just before that though is the very tricky right-hander as they come filtering their way through. Jake Dennis now coming under pressure here from Norman Natto for the race lead, but not quite able to find his way through.
Natto very aggressive, and he is pushing. He's definitely trying to get to the front to lead this race, trying to control it a little bit. They're not necessarily that good in the race duration, but they certainly have been able to make big improvements so far. We saw Sasha Fenestras, who is his teammate, had problems, but he was leading the race yesterday as well.
Sergei Setamara struggling with efficiency, but look at this in the battle for second place. Here we go, Norman Natto looking to the inside of Nick Cassidy, not able to find his way through, and he's possibly going to leave him under a threat here from Mitch Evans as well as they come across the line.
Yeah, Evans on the inside, and he's taking advantage of that, trying to sneak down the inside, and he's made it. But still, Natto's trying to go around the outside. That's not going to work. Is Bird going to follow him through? Looks like it.
Looks like that as well. Side by side, they go through turn 5 and 6. Backs out of it, decides that the discretion is the better part of valour. Sensible stuff there from Sam Bird. So slots now behind. So a car between the two Jaguars at the moment.
Watch out for Ticktum in the back. He might try and take advantage as Bird is looking to go down the inside. Sorry, Evans is going down the inside. And has he made it?
It's tight into turn 7. Side by side they run, but is he able to find his way through? No. Cassidy tries to block him off into the left-hander. Just manages to get himself ahead. Does Nick Cassidy, and holds firm in second place for now, as it's all getting a bit argy-bargy. That was René Rast and Jean-Eric Verne going side by side for 12th.
And Gunter's dropped down to 8th. One of the ones we thought was going forward's actually gone in the other direction. But you can see the force that Cassidy wanted. He wasn't definitely not going to let Evans pass. He knows how important it is to try to keep someone who's been so quick round here behind him.
Just a reminder that the teams have 300 kilowatts of energy with these cars. It increases up to 350 when they go into attack mode. They've got 8 minutes of attack mode here for this, and they've got 2 deployments, and they can use that in any which way they like. You can do 4 minutes and 4 minutes, and you can do 6 minutes and then a few more, and plus 2 minutes, or you can work it out differently depending on how your race is working out.
Yeah, your strategy is something that's going to play a little bit in. I think Pascal Wehrlein, another championship contender, because we're looking at 3 main ones here now, 1, 2, 3. But Pascal Wehrlein needs to use that extra 350 kilowatts of power to be able to bring himself back into the game somehow. Porsche need to make that work for him.
Well, this is going to be really exciting to see what happens here for Pascal Wehrlein, but down in 14th place. He's made one position from his starting place on the grid, but not going his way so far here this weekend, not going his way so far at the end of this season either.
Okay, we can commit to plan B. Plan B.
Okay, but it'd be good to know what plan A was, because if you're committing to plan B, you're leading the race, so clearly they are in control. That was a confident message from his engineer there, so I think he knows what they want to do.
No drivers have used attack mode as of yet. You can see 8 minutes remaining of disposal, but look at Nick Cassidy now, all over the back here of Jake Dennis. Dennis going defensive on the run up in towards turn 7. Side by side they go. Cassidy on the outside. Oh, Mitch Evans goes! And over onto the back of Nick Cassidy. The two title protagonists collide, and it's going to cause drama here further back as well as they all concertina up, because Mitch Evans' car is stricken on the outside of turn number 7. And disaster for Envision, disaster for Jaguar on lap 2.
Absolute, and also for Envision, but it looks like Cassidy kind of got away with that one, unless he's got damage to the gearbox or something. But Dennis, it looks to have got through this, but that was all concertinaed up by the fact that Dennis was on the inside. Then after that, Cassidy went to the outside. Evans locked up the rear and spun into the back of Cassidy.
What drama we have here then, and you can see there the safety car is now coming out. Mitch Evans' car, the front wing missing on that Jaguar, and that is going to be an absolute shocker for him, because his race is going to be completely run. I suppose the one saving grace is that the safety car will bunch the field up at least.
Yeah, but that car's very damaged. Cassidy?
Please check my damage. I don't know who hit me. Yep, copy, we're on it.
Yeah, clearly he looks as if he's got a bit of a hit, but I think he'll be able to rejoin. I would say for Evans it's very difficult. Right now there's always winners and losers in this. Jake Dennis without doubt is a winner, but now Jaguar needs Sam Bird in third place to get into the lead and take points away from Dennis.
Let's have another look then. So Evans here looking to the inside line here, and I think he just locked the rear axle, doesn't he?
There's a little bit of a bump there, and he's crossing the middle of the road. He locks the rear up and he slides into the back of the leading two cars. Then after that, it's a concertina effect. There's a few bits of debris around about there in mid-pack of just people just getting the mix of each other. Here we're on board with Dennis. Look to the green car going to the other side, and then after that, Evans is the third car behind. That's the one we're looking at. There you see him locking up the rear, oversteer, bang, bang.
I think he did just get a slight tap, but I don't think it cost him too much there. But how lucky was Jake Dennis in all of that drama, the two Kiwis colliding?
Sorry, I think it's how lucky actually Cassidy was, because seeing it again, look how high Evans goes and how he then bounces over the top of Nick Cassidy. And he's definitely hit the back of the bodywork and landed quite heavily on the left rear of Cassidy's car.
Well, let's see whether Cassidy is going to be able to recover. Asking the team to check the damage. There is James Barkley. And there's Sylvain Filippi on the right-hand side of your picture in the in the Envision garage, as Mitch Evans back into pit lane. And I'm sure there's going to be some very obvious frustration if he's going to be able to continue. You can see the front wheel stricken under it. The team are going to replace that. They're going to have to check the remainder of the car for damage.
They certainly are, but if you look at the safety car, it's only half of the lap round, so he's going to be clear to be able to get this changed and back out in time.
So into the garage then here for Mitch Evans, as Nick Cassidy has continued on in this race, but right down in 19th place according to the standings. Just behind him is Jake Hughes, so he must have been in a bit of drama, because Rene Rast is also in the pit lane. So one of the two McLarens might have had a bit of a coming together in all of that concertina effect in turn 7.
Yeah, Jake Hughes as well is, I think they were all in the middle. And look at the top of the bodywork there, and the camera, which is our eye view camera, has been destroyed, so it's landed on top of the safety cell of the car.
Do you think we could have a meatball flag here for the race direction, having a look at the car and saying, I wonder if that's going to be safe to continue?
Look, let's wait and see. At the moment, the car is obviously drivable. It's very lucky the way that it's landed for many, many different reasons. Right now, we've got Evans trying to get themselves back out before going a lap down. I think they should be able to do it, but it depends if there's any other damage they haven't seen, because it was quite a vertical landing, which put a lot of shock into the system.
Well, they were calling him the King of Rome, and if he's able to continue in this one, he's going to need a gladiator's comeback in the race. Is Mitch Evans. He gets himself out onto the track. Lap 3 out of 24 we are on.
Okay, let's go. We're still on the lead lap. Safety car is out. Assess how this feels.
So, on the lead lap, let's have a look at a bird's eye view then of the incident. So look at third in your picture, that is Mitch Evans, side by side up the sharp end with Dennis versus Cassidy.
I think the reality there is, as the safety car's in this lap, we're now on board with Jean-Eric Verne. You can see there just the concertina and everyone coming up into it. As again now Pascal Verlaine in the middle of the grid, he was about 15th, and it's just like a traffic jam there, they're all blocked up.
Yeah, nowhere for them to go. As the safety car comes in then at the end of lap 3.
As they're coming round to the end of this, we've got Evans, but he's half a lap behind as the safety car is going to come in.
Yeah, that's a disaster there for Mitch Evans, because he's not been able to close up onto the back of the pack. We're green flag racing here then as we begin at lap number 4. It's Jake Dennis that leads from Norman Nato from Sam Bird, who's now leading. Jackie was charged here in this one. There's still points in the Teams Championship to contend for as well. So Sam Bird going for playing rear gunner to the front man here. And I wonder whether Dan Tictum is going to try and feature in the opening stages of this restart in the Neo. radio, down towards the turn 4 we go. This is where it is turn 1, effectively, because the start line and the finish line are a bit staggered here in this one, but a disaster there for Mitch Evans. Team radio.
The car is undrivable.
So Mitch Evans possibly set to retire from this race. That could be title over for the Kiwi in the most unfortunate of circumstances. That really is a 0-0 weekend after winning yesterday and possibly ending with no points here this afternoon.
Yeah, and Dennis is out leading at the moment. Okay, very early on, obviously, but from a title point of view, he is the only one that's really in big points. We've got Pascal Wehrlein's got himself up into 10th, but Evans is effectively out. And then you've also got Cassidy, who's at 18th at this moment.
Mitch Evans still said the car's undrivable, but he didn't go into the pit lane, crucially, at the end of that lap.
But if it's undrivable, you're not going to fix it in the pit lane at this stage, so he's got to try it a little bit more.
Let's have a look. As the drivers go through into turn 15, it's Jake Dennis that leads the way, followed by Norman Natto, first driver into the attack mode.
Opposite Günther in front.
Beg your pardon, sorry for talking over the team radio there, but a plethora of drivers using the attack mode there, including De Costa, Verne, De Grassi, Van Dorn, Muller, Freins, Sacha Fenestrad and Roberto Merri. They've all gone for their attack mode to different levels of deployment. They can choose that, they can adapt their strategy over the course of the race. And now, as you see, Jake Dennis leading the way. The field behind is still very bunched up for position.
They certainly are as they drop down the hill, and now this is the lead going in, and you can see that definitely the front three are starting to sort of just eke away from Dan Tincton.
Okay, we need to defend more T7, focus min speeds.
So defend more into turn 7, that means use a little bit more energy up the hill from here into the next corner so you don't get overtaken by Norman Natto, but then after that, keep your minimum speed up, carry the momentum through the corner. That's something that without doubt Dennis is able to do.
Look at behind as well, the two Maseratis with Buemi in the middle of the mix there as well. Riding on board we are here with Sam Bird, Norman Natto, Jake Dennis just in front of him. An opportunity knocks here for Sam Bird as well, quite possibly in the Jaguar.
Yeah, one thing is though that Jake Dennis is punching a hole in the air for everybody behind him, and so therefore they can kind of just stay in that slipstream and gain a little bit of extra energy in their pocket to use later on.
Through turn 12 and to turn 13, out of the top 5 in the championship, only Jake Dennis was the only driver involved to not be a part of that incident, and with that clear track in front of him, he'll be pretty happy with that. Nobody using attack mode in the front of this race as the fans watch on and make their way through. That is Dan Tincton having a really good race. Looks like Mitch Evans is going to be coming into the pits then to retire from this one, so the damage is too great. His race is over. It's gone from maximum points on Saturday to no scores on Sunday. Through into the final corner come the race leaders then. So Jake Dennis still leading the way from Norman Natto. Looks like Edo Mortara is just beginning to close that gap down in the Maserati. His teammate Max Günther was on the third step of the podium. We've got a yellow flag out. That's down at turn 6, a double wave yellow.
Looks like a bit of debris through there. All the cars are through, so this is the fast corner they're coming up to in a second.
Okay, Mitch, stay in the car. We want to have a good look at this.
So why are they asking to stay in the car there?
Well, just because they want to check it out. Look, you never know what's happened. We saw that yesterday. This is the turn 6 with this double yellow, bit of debris somewhere in it. But also remember, there's a point for fastest lap. However, you've got to finish in the top 10 to be eligible for that point for fastest lap.
Oh, look at that there as well. Looks like that's Wehrlein trying to make some moves. De Costa, in fact, in the Porsche, trying to make some moves up inside the top 10. Not able to get his way past Max Günther for 7th at the moment. Wehrlein just behind his teammate. Actually, Wehrlein's had a pretty good restart to this race, has made steady progress from the beginning of this one into attack mode he was, and he's now up into 9th, and well, considering he lined up down in at 15th on the grid, that's not a bad rate to get his way through the field and hopefully recover some points as we look at the Jaguar garage of Mitch Evans here. And, well, the car being worked on. It's all going to be in vain, though. Unfortunately, it's still going to be no points on the board for him there as Sam Bird closing up onto the back of Norman Natto into 15th.
Yeah, that's quite a close front battle, and Dennis is having to defend a little bit here. So clearly, remember, he said, go to plan B is now. Nato looks down the inside. That's a really difficult place to make it, but it's put Dennis offline. Can Nato do the cutback and then have a look down? And
He's got damage. He's got damage on the front wing there, so he must have clipped the back of Jake Dennis, and unfortunately that could prove to be the undoing of Norman Nato's race. I don't think it'll affect him too much. It's flapping around like a good one, though, at the moment.
It's dragging as well. It's the end plate that's dragging on the front. You can see there's an angle from the front wing. The left-hand side is, well, it's actually now bouncing around, so he's damaged his front wing. That could, as you say, be the end for Nato's real charge.
It's been a difficult weekend for Nissan. Sasha Fenestras not taking qualifying.
He turned completely on me.
Well, I think he gave you a little bit of room there, Norman. I wouldn't quite agree with that, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. The problem is that now Nato's got a dragging front wing.
That's such a shame there for Norman Nato's having a really strong run in that race up until that point. Still Da Costa trying to look for a way through on Max Günther for 7th. They're so close in the field at the moment. You wonder who's going to blink first in terms of the strategy. Let's have another look, though, at the incident between Dennis and Nato here into the final sector.
Here you see, and Dennis was coming in. Yeah, he had to move in, but there's a point where you have to do that. And it was going to be a very late move by Nato to get into a corner that is normally not an overtaking opportunity. And these front wings are very, very fragile. Driver has to consider that when he is making an overtake as well.
Well, you can see there the attack zone as to what it would mean at the moment. Jake Dennis possibly falling a bit further back, but it's a bit early for him to be going and making that attack there in the race. Some drivers further down are Pascal Wehrlein, Antonio Felix da Costa. The two Porsches go in on lap 7. Through in towards the final sector. Jake Dennis now building a bit of an advantage over Norman Nato, who's backing up the rest of the pack here. They're going to want to get themselves surely past this Nissan before too long.
Yeah, but the thing is, Dennis needs to now make a bit of a break on one of the next laps to then try to take his attack mode and not drop in behind Ticktum. I think he can do it behind Bird, but not Ticktum. And there's still work going on for Mitch Evans. Another person that's been in the pits, though, Jean-Eric Verne in the DS Penske. He has been in the pits, but is now back out.
Yeah, we saw him going into the back of one of the McLarens. I think it might have been Jake Hughes a little bit earlier on, so that could be as a consequence of that.
That's threshold whiskey 1 now. Let's keep it up, mate.
And push whiskey 1, I think, means start getting on there, and he's got a bit of a gap. It's now nearly 1 second is the advantage.
First time to look at the energy there. Sam Bird, the best of the lot inside the top 8 at the moment, 72% compared to 70 for Dennis and Nato just in front of him. And you can see there Ticktum as well as Mortara and Günther on 70 and 71% respectively. Lotterer actually the driver inside the top 10 who's seemingly the worst on efficiency at the moment. So let's see how this works out. Of course, the top 7 drivers at the moment have not activated their attack mode at this stage in the race.
Short whiskey 0, push for attack, push this, that.
Yeah, he's going to take the attack mode this time, Jake Dennis, trying to get in, get out, because Nato is definitely backing up Bird. And there he goes, he's into attack mode, and he's came out still in the lead. Bird is up into second because Nato has also taken the attack mode and stayed ahead of Ticktum.
Well, now you can see that Sam Bird is going to really start to pile the pressure onto the back of Jake Dennis. Dennis might have to go defensive here in towards the final sector. It's really close here between the top 2, but Dennis, of course, has got 50 kilowatts more power available in his right foot.
Yeah, he does as he accelerates down the hill, and you can see that extra power as he just leaves Sam Bird.
So through in towards the left-hander on lap 9 out of 24 we are. Jake Dennis with attack mode now activated. Sam Bird still with the full 8 minutes at his disposal. Norman Nato with the damaged front wing in attack mode at the moment, but well, he's carrying on despite the damage to his Nissan.
Yeah, he certainly is. Bird's radio.
You've got the most energy in the field. Make the most energy in the field. 2% up on Nato and Dennis in front, and also Ticktum behind, so let's use it.
Yeah, and there you've got a little bit of information, 2%. The other person that's on the same energy as one of the Porsche goes down, and he can never make it. That was never going to happen.
Oh, that is such a shame there, unfortunately, as he goes. Yeah, Da Costa going straight off at turn 7. We've seen so many drivers do that this weekend.
What that's done, though, is promoted Nick Cassidy, the other person with very good energy. He's now up into 12th place. Remember, he was the one that had Evans fly over the top of him, and now he's up to 12th. 10th position is the first points paying place.
Yeah, Cassidy hasn't gone into attack mode at this stage either, so he's down in 11th position. So let's see how this is going to work out here for the Kiwi, trying to fight his way back into the points. Mitch Evans now finally out of the car. Race over. 29 points yesterday. Nothing on the board here today. Oh, look at this. Sam Bird trying to attack on the back of Jake Dennis into the final sector. Dennis having to go defensive. Is that going to cost him a little bit of time with traction on the exit? Dennis there again, still defensive into the left-hander. Bird trying every which way he can to get his way through on Dennis's, whose attack mode has now come to its conclusion after his first deployment of 2 minutes. So he's still got 6 minutes remaining. We know that Bird has been the most efficient on energy with the top 7 as it stands. But crucially, he has still got the full deployment of 8 minutes of attack mode available. So he's got 50 kilowatts more power and he's got more time to use it.
Yeah, you look at the defensiveness. Dennis definitely does not want to relinquish track position. He's been quite aggressive, not doing anything wrong, but being quite aggressive just to make sure that he stays in that pole position. That's what the team are working on. The strategy yesterday wasn't ideal. Looks like they've got a very clear way of looking at it today.
It's going to be into 7 here, surely, where he's going to have a go. Dennis there, go for the defensive line. Bird trying to go the long way around the outside. It's all kicking off a little bit further behind there as well, with Tickton trying to attack on Nato. Buemi involved in the mix as well. Side by side is Buemi with Tickton then in towards the left-hander. The Envision up the inside. The Envision into 5th.
Yeah, that car's going well. Buemi's been nicely just bringing himself back up into the game. Now they've got to get past Nato, because Nato, to a great extent with that front wing, he is an injured driver there, as in he's just not going to be able to keep the pace of the front two when they release and go. So Sebastian Buemi actually now into 4th place, so he's up trying to challenge for the podium positions. The other Envision of Nick Cassidy down in 11th, just off the back of Stoffel Van Dorn for the last points position in this race. Yeah, but he's only 4.3 seconds off the back of the leader, so it's not very far.
And he's going to the inside of Van Dorn here at turn 15. There's a little bit of contact there, bit of hip and shoulder between the two. He's going to have the inside line here as Van Dorn into the right-hander, which follows. Can he hold the line and hold the place as we watch on board here? And he manages to just hold the charge of Nick Cassidy for the time being. Meanwhile, back at the front, Bird still trying to attack on Dennis.
Yeah, he's coming. Bird's definitely got some pace about him. There is no question. And he knows he's got an opportunity. He doesn't have to play the team game any longer. Team game is winning the race, and so he can go for it. And that's something that Sam will definitely relish. But there you've got Cassidy in the green car, and he is it nicely, just keeping his energy. He's looking at the back of the car ahead. Buemi's radio.
Item cooling. Ignore it.
High temp cooling, is that in relation to the front powertrain?
Yes, it's high. Basically, we are talking about seriously hot conditions. 35 degrees here. Bird goes to the outside again.
Yeah, Dennis go defensive once again, up into 7, side by side for 3rd place in the background there as well. Nato versus Buemi. Buemi hung out to dry, possibly going to leave him under attack here from Tickton. He chops his nose off though and holds firm into 4th for now. And it's Dennis still with 6 minutes remaining, but Bird and Buemi right behind. 8 minutes of attack mode now remaining. When are they going to deploy this? We're coming in towards the halfway stage already of this frenetic race of round 14.
Yeah, it's quite an aggressive race as well, the way but they're giving a little bit of respect, I've got to say, because they could quite easily squeeze each other a lot more. But right now, it is actually setting itself up to be a fantastic E-Prix here. As you say, not even halfway through, and we've had a lot of different stories coming through to it.
Well, Sam Bird there, he could go for broke in this one. A lot of rumours flying around the paddock as to where he's going to be lining up on the grid for 2023. And you can see he's doing himself absolutely no harm by putting himself in the shot window. Defensive line there from Dennis. Is that going to leave him under attack on the exit? No, not quite. Dennis is wise to that one and holds firm at the front for the time being. This is absolutely fantastic driving from Jake Dennis to be soaking up this pressure like an absolute sponge from Sam Bird.
Very clever the way where Dennis is using his energy. It's in the areas like down here, up into turn 7, where it makes it very difficult for Bird to attack. In the tighter, narrower areas, where Bird really doesn't have very many places to try to overtake, he's just going slow and conserving that energy.
Looking at the energy as well, you can still see that Sam Bird is the most efficient out of the top 5. Nick Cassidy not far away from that as well. He's got 56, 57%. If you see the energy percentage going up, that's because they have regen braking. They're able to get some of the energy back into the motor under braking. You can see here Bird as we ride on board through turn 6. This is where it all kicked off yesterday. Is still all over the back of Dennis. Dennis going for the defence as they go side by side for the race lead. Up into 7. On the inside is Dennis. On the outside there is Bird. He's shuffled out wide and has to hold on to second place for the time being.
Yeah, Bert's always having to look to the outside, but that leaves him a little bit vulnerable to someone sneaking up the inside, as Sebastian Buemi did with Dan Ticktum earlier on.
Yeah, got a yellow flag down at turn 7 at the moment.
It's the Grassy that looks to have a problem.
Oh, that's not the first time, and there's contact with the barrier there by the looks of things, because he's carrying half of it on his right rear tyre.
Yeah, be careful in case he stops. If he does stop, that could be a full course yellow.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what happens there. Here you can see the attack zone as it stands at the moment on the right-hand side of your picture. Are we going to see anybody going into attack mode? No, not quite, but actually Dick Ticktum does in the Neo from 5th place. He wants to activate it. Where's he going to emerge, though, crucially? It's right behind the two Maseratis, down in 8th.
Yeah, that's not ideal for him. He wanted to be at least in the middle of them.
So Dennis leading then. This is Sam Bird still piling that pressure on. Absolutely amazing driving from these top two in particular. Brilliant defence from Jake Dennis. Roger Griffiths there down in the Avalanche Andretti team. And you can see just the pensive faces in the garages at the moment. There is so much riding at this point in the championship.
Yeah, that's a top 4 team principals there, and they're about as nervous as the drivers. Problem is that the team principals can't really do very much.
Cassidy here side by side with the reigning champion Stoffel Van Dorn, not quite able to find a way through at the moment. That's for the final points position of 10th. Still got the fuller use of attack mode available at his disposal, has Nick Cassidy here as well. And look at Bird all over the back still of Jake Dennis. Dennis knows that, goes for the defensive line, up in towards 7 we go. Look at Buemi going to the inside on Norman Nato. No room at the end for now. The two Maseratis getting pretty close to one another through there as well, but they all managed to exit the corner in the same positions that they entered. Well, there's the debris. You can see that's where De Grassi seems to have clobbered the barrier as well at 8. Yellow flag has gone away from that one, so seemingly the race will continue as it stands, but he is in the pit lane. The two Mahindras are looking like it's going to be another double non-point score here for the second race in succession. Bird for Team Radio.
Change your attack scenario to option 3. Change your attack scenario to option 3.
So that's basically change what you're doing with the attack scenario is what you're doing. There's another one, and he's gone into the attack mode, so Bird into attack mode. Where's he going to come out? Just in front of the Maseratis, but behind Buemi.
Yeah, Buemi there, so Buemi still has the full attack mode at his disposal, but now, of course, Bird has got 50 kilowatts of extra power, and is he going to be able to have the opportunity to try and use it as they come through in towards that final sector? Incredibly close here between them, and Bird with an amazing amount of passion in his driving and a lot of energy underneath his rear wheels as well. About 14 out of 24 we are as we come across the timing line. Jake Dennis that leads from Norman Nato, but Sam Bird, who has activated his attack mode, 6 minutes of his first deployment, and he sits now behind Sebastian Buemi. Here we can see the replay of attack mode, so he's stuck behind Jake Dennis here, goes into attack mode, and it was a question of whether he would emerge ahead of Buemi. It was mightily close on the exit, but he just gets himself in front of the Maserati of Edo Mortara.
Yeah, and that incident between Dennis and Nato that damaged Nato's front wing, that is being noted by the stewards as well.
Oh, we're side by side, a little bit further back down the order as well. That looks like it is one of the DS Penske's going toe-to-toe with Sergio Sette. Camera down there for 16th and 17th place. They were pretty close to one another. Camera, who has activated his attack mode. Good point all that he got for the Neo 333 team here yesterday.
Whiskey Zero, big push.
This is into attack mode, Whiskey Zero. That means into attack mode for Jake Dennis. That's trying to just make sure defensive against Sam Bird, and him and Nato have done it, but can Nato come out ahead? Nato still came out ahead of Bird. That is critical for Bird. He needed to be ahead of Nato, but time to get past Sebastian Buemi has just lost that opportunity.
Well, this could be the undoing for Sam Bird in his challenge for race victory. So Dennis with the attack mode activated, Nato and Bird all with it, ready to go. So they've all got equal amounts of power at this point. They've all got 350 kilowatts under their right foot compared to the 300 that they started the race in. So none of them have got an advantage over one another.
No, they don't. And right now, Buemi's also creeping up in the back, and he hasn't activated. He's still got his 8 minutes left. And so they're playing the long game at Envision.
Nick Cassidy down into 15th. He has gone for his first activation of attack mode. That's why he's dropped slightly down the order at the moment.
I think it's best I give Norman clean air to help defend against Sam.
So what he's saying there is he wants to try and drop behind Norman Nato, isn't he?
He's trying. I'm going to help the guy in second in the opposing car to try to defend against Sam. Basically, Dennis realises, the team realise, they're fighting Bird and Jaguar. This is not for this particular race. This is for the championship. Drivers and teams.
Absolutely. Riding on board, we are then here with Sam Bird. He makes his way through. This is Lucas de Grassi, the incident we saw that brought out a yellow flag at turn 8 as we ride on board with him. Oh, there was a bit of contact there. Was that Pascal Wehrlein on his inside?
It's the Porsche sneaked down the inside. It looked like it was a bit late, but he made it work. I don't think Lucas actually realised he was there and bounced off him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah. Oh dear, unfortunately that has brought an early conclusion to his race. I think it might actually have been Antonio Felix da Costa in that one. Into the attack mode then. Oh, and he's missed it there, Dan Ticktum, hasn't he? Or has he managed to activate it? No, he managed to. I thought he missed the loops there on the inside.
Yeah, Ticktum's activated. He's got 6 minutes running now. He managed to make it through very, very close. That was what Evans missed yesterday and had to then redo it. But right now, it's still sitting. Dennis has got 4 minutes left, so does Nato. Sam Bird, though, he's only got 2 minutes left of his attack mode.
Yeah, he activated it a lap prior to Dennis and Nato, and that could prove to be pretty crucial here for Sam Bird as we ride on board with Norman Nato. Despite the damage on the front of that Nissan, it's not halting his charge as it stands at the moment. You can see, though, Bird does have a further 2 minutes left to activate, but crucially, Sebastian Buemi in the Envision, he hasn't done any of his attack mode deployment at the moment. He's still got the full 8 minutes left to go. There's 8 laps, I should say, left of this race. So he is in the pound seats here as it stands.
Yeah, but he needs to activate pretty quickly because he needs to do it so that he uses all of that energy prior to the end of the race. So I'd expect Buemi to go quick.
Attack loss is 0.9. Gunther 1.1 behind right now.
Yeah, attack loss, that means the time to go in through the loops and back out 0.9. 1.1 to Gunther, looks a bit less to me now. That's obviously a delayed radio message, and so that's to try to make sure he came out ahead of Gunther, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it. He's got to use maximum energy to charge into attack, to stretch that advantage over Gunther, and this is the straight to do it and into the next one.
Yeah, let's see whether he is going to go into the attack mode on this lap then. Sebastian Buemi, the two Maseratis, Abena Mortara and Gunther following him. So as he comes through into it, there he does. He's going to go into it. So he's going to lose out to one Maserati. He's going to lose out to both Maseratis there. He just about manages to hit all three of the loops.
And he only takes 2 minutes as well. That's a very interesting thing from Buemi. So he's only taken 2 minutes, so he has to activate it again.
Well then, so Sebastian Buemi, you get 2 shots at the attack mode activation, and he's gone for 2 minutes in the opening stages of it. If you were Sebastian Buemi in that position, would you have gone for longer?
Yes. Just purely and simply, he's got a risk now that with the laps to go, that he may not be able to activate his full time. It's 6 minutes, I admit, but that's 4 laps, and I would always try. There's a cut-off point where you have to do it.
Sam Bird still putting the pressure now onto the back of Norman Nato here for second place as they come across the timing line through turn 6 in towards turn 7. Let's go down to Saunders, who's got Mitch Evans.
Yeah, I'm down here with Mitch Evans in the Jaguar garage. Now, mate, as far as tough brakes go, that's pretty much as tough as they come.
Yeah, it hurts. It sucks right now. Yeah, it all happened very quickly. I wasn't expecting them to back up so much when I was, approaching the back of Jake. I tried to avoid it, but then I rode. Obviously, once I decided to ride next wheel, it just kind of got out of control, and I feel really bad. Yeah, it just kind of caught me by surprise. I was not expecting them to be that slow at the apex, but yeah, it really hurts. It was a really critical time of the season. I had attacking mindset. I wanted to make progress. I wanted to obviously position myself into turn 8 to get Nick, but obviously didn't go to plan. So I feel sorry for Nick. I'm sorry to the Envision guys. It's obviously really hurt my championship now. So yeah, it sucks.
Thanks,
Delighted disappointment there for Mitch Evans. Cheers for that there, Saunders. The two Maseratis go into attack mode in tandem on lap 17. That releases Sebastian Buemi with just a few seconds remaining of his current deployment of 2 minutes. Meanwhile, Sam Bird still piling the pressure onto the back of Norman Nato's Nissan here.
Yeah, but he's 1.2 seconds behind Jake Dennis, who's kind of controlling the situation up ahead. Dennis looks as if he's in a much better place than he was yesterday. This was at the point of the race where he started to drop back because he didn't have as good energy management, but he's been in a strong place. Buemi's dropped back a little bit. The other one's Cassidy. He sort of went right back when he took his attack mode and is only slowly making his way back through now.
Yeah, I wonder if that is as a result of the damage to the car that he has suffered. And let's have a listen to Team Radio Bird.
Tell Seb to hold them up. Tell Envision to tell Seb to hold them up so I can take mine.
So a bit of Jaguar powertrain tactics trying to work together there for Sam Bird.
Yeah, I'm not sure that'll go through very well, to be honest with you. Buemi's doing his own thing. He's got his own race. And he's also in a fight for the team's title as well, because we have to remember Envision is fighting for the team's title.
Well, Sam Bird has only done one activation of attack mode. Sebastian Buemi has got to do one more attack mode activation, as we can see. And you can see the attack zone graphic here with Sebastian Buemi closing that gap down here to Sam Bird. And is he going to be able to find his way through before this race reaches its conclusion? 7 laps to go. Bird goes into the attack mode for the final time then, and crucially Sebastian Buemi follows him through, but Buemi might be able to drop. Yeah, he is. He's going to drop behind Edo Mortara here then as well. So now there's a buffer between them. Mortara also in attack mode at this particular point as well.
Yeah, but it's 6 minutes that Buemi's got already in the attack mode, so in that respect he's got a decent amount more than Mortara. He needs to try to do it as quickly as possible, but he can wait for a lap and then he'll have more power.
Yeah, he needs to try and find his way through on Edo Mortara in that Maserati. Riding on board we are here with Sebastian Buemi, former Formula E champion, and leading the charge for Envision Racing in this one. Cassidy's gone for his final deployment with just 20 seconds now remaining. He's up into 13th position, but still a non-score for both Kiwis in this 14th round of the FIA Formula E World Championship. It's going to be a very disappointing set of circumstances. Top 5 overtakes there. You can see Cassidy has overtaken more drivers than any of the field. That's because he was further back than anybody else in the field as well. 9 overtakes compared to teammate Sebastian Buemi with 6, and likewise Da Costa, Lotterer and Hughes as well. Cassidy wants to try and get himself inside the top 10, I understand, to get the fastest lap points.
Yes, he does. At the moment, that's the important thing for him, is to get anything out of this particular race. And any point, whether it be a fastest lap point, but that would also mean that he's in the top 10, which means an additional point for 10th or 2 for 9th, etc.
Yeah, all these points could be pretty crucial in the championship. Let's not forget that Cassidy was leading, but by a minuscule margin of just 2 points coming into this weekend. The championship is very much going to swing in the favour of Jake Dennis. And where are we heading to in a couple of weeks? London. And who goes well in London? Jake Dennis. On board we are with Max Günther then, sitting behind the Envision of Sebastian Buemi. Buemi with more attack mode activation at his disposal. Edo Mortara coming towards the end of his current deployment, and indeed his last deployment in this race.
As is Sam Bird as well. Bird is out now, Nato is out. 22% energy for Dennis, 24 for Bird. Nato's the one that's struggling a little bit right now, looking down. 24% for Cassidy. Cassidy's looking pretty possible for a top 10 position, but I think it was going to be in the bottom end of the top 10.
Yeah, let's see whether he's going to be able to find his way through with 4 laps now remaining here in this Rome E-Prix. Down in towards the first corner we go. Well, I said the first corner is actually heading in towards turn 4 technically on this track, but the first corner from the start line. Buemi then still with 3 minutes of attack mode remaining, still stuck behind Edo Mortara. And Bird, his efficiency in this race has been hugely impressive with that Jaguar powertrain as they come through into the middle sector. So Sam Bird here with 21% energy. Compare that to Norman Nato and Jake Dennis. Just talk to me about that in layman's terms here, Alan. What difference is that going to make for him?
Well, he could stay on the throttle that little bit longer, and that means that he has a potential to overtake.
So we have the same energy as Mortara. Günther has more than us. We need to pass Mortara.
Instruction received then from Sebastian Buemi. Get yourself past Edo Mortara as quickly as you possibly can. He's still got over 2.5 minutes of his current attack mode deployment available. That means he's got 50 kilowatts more power at his disposal at this point, so he needs to find his way through on the Swiss Italian in his home round here in Rome. very, very quickly. But there's a fair gap of about a second between the two.
Yeah, and also if you look at Sam Bird, he's now been bottled up behind the injured Norman Nato for quite a long time. And so all the element of surprise, all the element of extra power because of attack mode, that's all gone now. And so Sam's really going to have to throw it down the inside if he's going to achieve anything.
Look at the Drivers' Championship and look at the swing that this would give Jake Dennis as well. Nick Cassidy would drop himself down into second place. 194 points it would be for Jake Dennis, 171 points for Nick Cassidy there in second. And from what I understand from the calculations, it looks as though whoever leads the championship tonight will possibly be able to clinch the title at race 1 of the weekend in London in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but right now Dennis is only thinking about getting the points, whatever the points happen to be for him, but it takes out Verline out of the championship effectively, and also Evans as well. So it comes down to a 2-horse race for the title, and it's between the Kiwi Cassidy and Jake Dennis the Brit.
Sebastian Buemi still not making any inroads on Eden Mortara for 4th at the moment. The gap sitting pretty constant, sort of fluctuates as the lap goes on, but it's sat at about 8 or 9 tenths of a second over the last lap. So despite having more energy and more power at his right foot with the attack mode being activated, he does not have the opportunity to find his way through as it stands. But speaking of finding his way through, look at Sam Bird now all over the back of the Nissan of Norman Nato. Nato can sniff a podium, which would give something for the Japanese team to smile about here this weekend. But is it going to be second or is it going to be third?
Well, it's just a question, but right now Nato's doing a very, very strong job. You have to say, he's just keeping Bird behind. He's driving cleverly. Bird's going to have to be super aggressive to be able to achieve it. However, Mortara's just eking up on the back of Bird right now. So it's going to be, I would say, a 3-car fight for that second place pretty soon. No added laps after that safety car. Yeah. So therefore it is only going to be 3 laps to go.
Yeah, crucially there, no added laps. So this is going to be really exciting as an end to this race. Look at the race leader though, Jake Dennis. He's cleared off 2.5 seconds nearly out in front. Look at the remaining energy there. Sam Bird with 15% compared to Nato on 13.
Yeah, but that means that for Dennis now, he knows he's in total control. He doesn't have to stretch or manage. He's in a good place. But also it's a little bit of a get out of jail free for Nato as well, because he knows exactly what he's got.
They're absolutely flat out at the moment, as you can see with the graphic on the left-hand side of your screen, accelerating their way up to 230, 240 kilometres an hour. The front wing skittling along the ground there for Norman Nato.
Copy, that's fastest lap. We can confirm no added laps.
Fastest lap, so that would mean 26 points for Jake Dennis if it finishes as it is and no one goes quicker.
Well, this is going to be a turn up for the books for Jake Dennis. If it carries on as it is, he'll have a healthy championship lead coming into the final weekend of the series in London in a couple of weeks' time, a track that he knows very well and he's very competitive on. And also, crucially as well, his nearest championship rival, Nick Cassidy, not troubling the point scorers, still down in 13th place, stuck behind Andre Lotterer's Porsche at the moment. On board we ride very briefly there with Norman Nato and Sam Bird into the braking zone, into the final sector. Nato doing a really good job defending, but look at how much they're closing up onto the back of Eden Mortara. Seb Buemi possibly coming into threat here as well with a couple of laps now remaining. Across the timeline they go.
Bet their heartbeat's pretty high in the Avalanche Andretti team. Bit of sweat on Michael Andretti's forehead, and that's not due to the heat, that's due to the fact that he knows the importance of this race. He knows what this can do for his team and their title challenge.
So across the start-finish grid we go, and down in towards turn number 4. You can see there, Bird still piling the pressure on to the back. Is he going to be able to find his way through? You surely sense that he's going to have a go at some point, but he's just not close enough. Look at the way in which Nato is able to get himself ahead, but Nato, crucially, has got 3% less energy remaining than Bird.
It's going to be in the last lap, and it's going to be quite tricky for Bird right now, but it's going to be a last lap manoeuvre.
Meanwhile, further down the order, it's still all kicking off. Nick Cassidy, you can see there just in the background of your picture on the blue and green machine. Behind him is Jake Hughes, but Cassidy out of the points in 13th place.
And you saw Da Costa there leading that. He's just received a black and white flag for the incident with Andre Lotterer. He's got the naughty boy flag.
Well, any more of those, and race direction might be coming down.
Hughes just smashed the back of me.
Yeah, you need to move forwards. Don't worry about what's behind you, Nick. You've got to look at Lotterer and Muller up ahead of you and think of the advantage you have in energy that you see on the left-hand side graphic. Cassidy with 8%, 3% more than Andre Lotterer.
So coming in towards the final sector, it's going to be 1 lap to go. Jake Dennis looks like he's got this one pretty much sewn up. 5% energy he has left, and he's got over 1.5 seconds to Nato and Bird, who are squabbling for second place in this one. Don't count out Edo Mortara, Sebastian Buemi or Maxi Günther in this one as well. Anything can happen in Formula E, and we've seen that already today.
Keep me posted on fastest lap for it.
Yeah, you've got it by a mile, mate.
Confirmation there for Jake Dennis having the fastest lap in this race by a mile, so it will be a maximum point total of 26 for him in the race, which will be a very, very welcome result for him going into the next round of the title. This is going to be crucial here for Sam Bird. He closes up onto the back of Norman Nato, but he's not there within striking distance at the moment.
This is one of the overtaking opportunities up into turn 7, but definitely the gap's far too far behind.
Nato only with 1% energy though left. This could be critical here for Norman Nato. He's going to be doing everything he can, trying to flintstone his car across the timing line at this rate, because Bird has got 4% energy remaining, and is Nato going to have to back off in the closing stages of this final lap? There's a yellow flag out at turn 3. That's not going to affect the runners at the front that we're looking at for now, but Nato's energy is going down. Dennis with only 1% there as well, so Bird with great efficiency is really in the pound seats, but is he going to be able to pounce on Nato?
He's going to be into the obelisk or into the final corners. He's going to be in a position, I think for Dennis it's clear, but I don't know for Nato. It's going to be super, super close.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the Nissan team have either pulled a blinder or they've miscalculated. It's looking like the former at the moment as they come through into the final sector. Jake Dennis, what a drive it has been from the Avalanche Andretti driver. Through into the final series of corners he comes, controlling this race, the first ever lights the flag victory, led every single lap, and he comes across the line to win round 14 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. Norman Nato comes home in second place, timed to perfection with 0% energy remaining. Sam Bird comes over the line in third place ahead of Edo Mortara and Sebastian Buemi inside the top 5. 2 Maseratis in the top 10 as well.
Yeah, baby! Ah, yes!
What a drive from Jake Dennis. Absolutely perfect. That is exactly what the Briton needed to do at a critical point in the championship. That's his second victory of 2023. And you can see the delight of Andretti and the despair of Jaguar there with James Barkley. And of course, Mitch Evans retiring from that race with the mistake he made in the early stages.
Wow. Got to say, that was a very strong result there for Jake Dennis. Really well done. Jake, this is Alan here. Got to say, congratulations, fantastic race, but that puts you in the pound seat in the championship as well as for the podium.
Oh my God, I mean, Mexico feels so long ago and the boys deserve the win. I've given them enough seconds, and you know the champagne tastes so much better in P1, so full credit to the team for giving me a car today. You know, Jaguars were incredibly fast yesterday and we turned it around, and yeah, these guys deserve every bit of champagne they're going to have, and what a race, what a championship we're about to have in London, and yeah, incredible.
Enjoy the champagne and the podium.
Slight incident there on the cool-down lap for one of the Maseratis by the looks of things, just biffing the wall, but elation for Jake Dennis. What an absolutely superb result for him. He takes a very healthy championship lead coming into the final weekend of 2023, and problems here on the cool-down lap as well for the other Andretti of Andre Lotterer. So Lotterer there in the barrier.
On the last lap. That wasn't on the cool-down lap.
Right.
That was actually on the last lap of the race. And here we may see a replay of it.
Is he going to get hit from Cassidy here? This is coming in towards the middle sector, so into towards the right-hander. Oh, Cassidy with a bit of a desperate lunge up the inside. 2 into 1 doesn't go, and they both end up in the barrier. They both end up in the wall. Cassidy was able to get himself out, just into the path there of Rene Rast as well. So Cassidy was down in 14th place at the checkered flag. Drama for Andre Lotterer and especially Nick Cassidy. He was really in the wars today.
That was a scruffy last lap there for Nick Cassidy, unfortunately for him. No points on the board, and obviously for the team a lot of frustration and disappointment, but for Jake Dennis, sublime. He was frustrated yesterday. He finished fourth, so it was still a good result. But round here, 195 points, leading the championship, 171, 24 points ahead of his nearest rival, Nick Cassidy. But I think now it's between those two. Mitch Evans, Pascal Wehrlein, basically out of the game.
Fantastic drive from Jake Dennis. Credit also to Norman Nato in the Nissan. He'll be absolutely delighted with that, as will the team. They've not had a particularly easy weekend. It's his first podium of 2023. And with a second place finish, especially with Matsumura San, the gentleman who has been so important and instrumental in Super GT's success this year for the team. As Jake Dennis stands aloft, his car jumps off and heads over to be weighed at the end of that race. Great recovery from Sam Bird in the wall, down and out, and on the deck yesterday. Third place finish and a podium for the British driver here today.
Yeah, baby.
What an absolutely superb 14th round of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship here in Italy. That actually makes it Sam Bird's fourth podium of the year as well. So 3 different manufacturers in the top 3. 2 different teams in the top 3. 3 different powertrain manufacturers, I should say, with the Porsche powertrain for Andretti, the Nissan powertrain naturally for Nissan, and the Jaguar powertrain for Jaguar. Variety is the spice of life, and that's exactly what we get here in Formula E. Sam Bird, well, his crew did an absolutely amazing job. I was down talking to some of them earlier on and said, did you get any sleep overnight? I said, yeah, we've got about an hour or so back in the garage. And full credit to them for getting the car rebuilt.
Well done,
and you can see exactly what it means to Sam there as well. Very welcome result of this late stage in the season. Norman Nato and Nissan delighted with that second place finish, and nice to see Nick Cassidy coming over there to congratulate Jake Dennis on what was one of his strongest performances of the season.
Yeah, but he's also there having a word with Mitch Evans. 2 Kiwis obviously know each other well, and that obviously was a difficult result for them because that potentially could take them both out of the title fight and to some extent put this man in the pound seat.
I was trying to push him back.
Let's have a listen in to see what they're saying. Just saying he was trying to push Bird back, wasn't he? Well, penny for the thoughts of Nick Cassidy then, after a difficult weekend. Let's go down to Radzi, shall we?
I think I'm joined by the happiest man. Forget Rome, forget Italy, all of Europe right now. Roger Griffiths, light to flag, perfection. What a performance.
I mean, all credit to Jake, and what a drive. I mean, he held off a lot of very competitive guys behind him, drove a super smart race. We got the sums right today. We looked really hard, and we have to pay credit to our friends at Porsche Motorsport. I mean, the powertrain they've given us to be able to prove the efficiency is just amazing. So, but no, all credit to the team, every single one of them. We've worked so hard for this. It's been a long time since the first win back in Mexico City, and what a place to do it here in a most historic track on the Formula E calendar. I mean, I'm almost speechless, but...
You managed to get some good words out, Roger. We're going to celebrate with your team. Massive, massive congratulations.
Thank you so much. Come and join us.
I will hold you to it. Thank you.
Well, great to hear there from Roger Griffiths. Probably the happiest man in the paddock after a positive end to his weekend. 4th place for Jake Dennis in race 1 of the Rome E-Prix yesterday. And then the victory here in race 2. Meanwhile, Pascal Wehrlein started down in 15th on the grid. Somehow managed to salvage 7th place, but unfortunately, I don't think it is going to be enough for him to remain in the title fight going into London in a couple of weeks' time. And that's a shame because the wheels have really come off of his 2023 campaign after a stronger start to his season. And now we wait for the drivers to make their way down onto the podium. great result for Norman Nato and Nissan as well. They will be over the moon with that, with his first podium of the year and his second overall, actually, in Formula E as well.
Jake Dennis, huge congratulations. Lights to flag win, the first of the season. Congrats, mate.
Oh, I mean, I'm honestly lost for words how we've just won that race. It was so tactical inside the cockpit, you know, trying to keep Bird within certain distance. Obviously, he's going to help Mitch. So I really needed Norman as my wingman that race. And yeah, we worked together really well. I gave him space to help him defend when Bird had attack mode. And then when I needed to save, I did just that. And man, what a race, what a team. And for them giving me this incredible car, I've said it a million times. But after yesterday's sort of mistake, we've turned it around in full redemption. So can't wait to celebrate with them.
Maximum points today, pole position and the race win, going into a doubleheader in London where your history and success speaks for itself.
I know, home race, we're big there. I expect to see a lot of British fans, so make sure you all come out, guys. And yeah, going to try and do the business there, but we're just going to enjoy this right now, and I need a nice bath.
Congrats, mate.
Thank you, brother.
You can't blame Jake Dennis. It is absolutely scorchio here this weekend. A scorching performance both on the track and off it for the British driver, his second victory of 2023. This is how his race unfolded. Started right at the sharp end of the field, defended from Nick Cassidy into the first corner. Managed to lead every single lap, the first time that's ever been done in Formula E history with the Gen 3 cars. You can see him here defending from Mitch Evans and Sam Bird in the opening stages. At no point did he look like he was fallible to the pressure that was being placed underneath him. Drove an absolutely defensive masterclass. Pulled out a gap right when it mattered at the end of that one. Comes home for the victory and a healthy title advantage as well. Well, more interviews on the way. There's Norman Nato.
Norman Nato, congratulations. This is Nissan's first manufacturer podium in Formula E and yours in Gen 3.
Yeah, honestly, like speechless at the moment. Like already in qualifying, like was a really strong performance. And as I told you, like just after the qualifying, I was like, I will do what I can, but I don't think we can fight this guy because in race normally we are missing still a bit of efficiency. But honestly, I felt really good since the beginning of the race. I knew I was down on energy, so this guy Sam next to me was up on me, so I was trying to manage, and honestly did a super clean race as well. That's the kind of race, to be honest, as a driver we like, because we all fight really hard, but at the end was clean. So yeah, I'm really happy for the team, and also for myself after such a difficult beginning of the season to build the team as we are doing right now. It shows that all the progress we are doing are starting to pay off.
Well, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it, the celebrations. But talk to us about the race also, because it didn't seem necessarily straightforward. You had that damage earlier in the race. How did you manage it?
Yeah, I had first a damage with, I think it was with Mitch in turn 4 where we were side by side. And he went on throttle, he got a bit of oversteer, and it touched my front wing, so I had a bit of damage. Was okay, I was just a bit worried that maybe if it was going on the tires or inside of the car, could have been bad. And then I was feeling so good, honestly, and I said, okay, I go on, Jake. Was maybe a bit too ambitious, and I think at this time he was managing, so he saw that I was going in close a bit. But I mean, at the end, I was even like I had even more damage on my front wing, so I was like, oof, for 2 or 3 laps, I saw the thing like flying. But yeah, there's some day where everything going well, so it's this kind of day.
Enjoy the celebrations, mate.
Thank you.
Norman Nato with a dramatic race in Formula E. Managed to get himself up into second ahead of Nick Cassidy in the Envision. Then after attack mode unfolded, and this collision crucially defined his race. You can see he tried to make a move, at least on Jake Dennis, cost him a bit of damage to his front wing, which he drove around with for a good few laps, and you wonder whether he was going to actually be able to make the checkered flag like that, but he managed to do so, drove through all of the problems into second, held off the challenge from Sam Bird. Really impressive result from the Frenchman here, and great for Nissan in Rome to get another podium in Formula E.
So I'm here with Sam Bird, your 4th podium finish of the season, and this one probably feels like the most needed.
Yeah, definitely. Probably the most needed in a long, long time. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily happy, it's more relief. Happy to bring home valuable points for Jaguar in our quest to try and win the team's title. It's going to be an extremely hard fight when we get to London. We need to make sure that we do our homework now, try and improve a little bit. But yeah, what a heck of a fight it's going to be.
I'd usually ask at this point, when you woke up this morning, did you expect to be on the podium? But when you woke up, did you expect to have a car?
Yes, I expected to have a car. I really didn't know what to expect from myself. That's something that, in all honesty, I've struggled with recently. I don't know what I'm going to be doing when I get in the car. I've actually been really quick most of the year, just made too many errors, had too much luck kind of go wrong and not my way. But I've made too many mistakes and I've paid the price for that. But yeah, just nice, relieved to get a result today.
Welcome podium, I'm sure, and welcome points for the team.
Cheers, thank you.
A brilliant turnaround for Sam Bird, and as Alan to my left, who just said, a very honest interview there. And managing his emotions from what happened yesterday is pretty remarkable there.
Yeah, he's been very good at that, being able to sort of put history behind him and look forward and take the opportunities when they were available. Unfortunately for Sam, there's been a few mistakes along the season, and that definitely dents your confidence, no question. But he fought very well today. His job was to try to take as much out of it after he was protecting Mitch Evans at the beginning, but ultimately it was down to him, and he delivered a podium for Jaguar, kept them in the team's title chase as well. So we've got to keep that in mind.
We saw a huge incident which took place yesterday, affected a number of cars. It didn't affect the top protagonists. That, however, between Mitch and Nick today, just unthinkable.
Yeah, it is. It's an unfortunate situation. Certainly wasn't intentional for Mitch, I should say, as he went up into turn 7. It's a bumpy entry to there. There's camber on the road, and you can easily get the rear of the car moving. But also, as we saw, Jake Dennis was defending, and so from that point of view, Cassidy and outside Dennis, and then he just sort of locked up and slid into the back of him. Very, very unfortunate.
Well, this is a slightly more sedentary drive that the guys are taking to the podium. Let's have a listen in.
It's going to be a really good one.
It's good to have a buffer though, huh?
I'll take it.
Makes you a bit more relaxed though going into the week.
Yeah, we'll see.
What happened?
It's going to be very similar to here with the track layout.
I was too busy trying to groove myself to your game.
I was lucky. Yeah, I mean, lucky
that I was fast and
with the diff and everything.
Can you imagine? I was just
made.
Yeah, that's why I read up. I was like, I need to push it because for sure he's taking it a bit easy. And I was like, boom.
But yesterday you said they weren't. They were like,
wait. Okay, now I go back. Today, what did you? When everything settled, so it's a brain that even if you are 2 or 3% more, with this target you can pass. That was hard. And like that was physical.
We got straight for a little thing.
Yeah, man.
Where did we go? I have no idea.
Oh my God. 3 laps to go. I was like, can this
I actually have no idea. Where did we go?
Stop.
Here. That's it.
Boys, enjoy it. Catch you later. Cheers.
Thanks, man.
Cheers. Oh, seatbelt. Can I also get out?
It turns out when you are a professional racing driver, you can do a lot of things. You can drive at 130 miles an hour, but you often forget to take your seatbelt off, it turns out.
Yeah, the thing is, for a driver in a racing car, seatbelt's on the buckle here. You just clip it and off you go. You don't have to think about this left or right thing. But the thing for me there was just listening to Norman Nato in the back of the car with... it was the respect between them. They had a really hard fight, but it was clean, it was tidy, and there was that element which was very, very important, I think, for this type of racing.
And respect given the context of that race. So much defensiveness was taking on. It was jittery at times. It could have gone either way. There could have been almost accidents at any point, given the braking. Jake mentioned that he was kind of his wingman with Nato there, and it worked.
Yeah, Radzi, in the comms box, there's a few times when I just, sort of took a sharp intake of breath, because you can see quite easily with Cassidy and Evans how it can go wrong in just a split second. And that could also have been the same situation with Dennis, but they all played a very clean, hard, but very respectful game. And I think we got an extremely good race out of it.
I mean, it feels like a long time ago now, but can we just remind ourselves of that incident? Because like you said, it happened within the blink of an eye. 2 of the protagonists to lift the World Championship trophy all ended in a heartbeat.
Yeah, Dennis on the inside defending, he was trying to conserve as much energy as possible. And then you had Cassidy on the outside, and it just caught, I think, Mitch Evans a little bit by surprise, how much they backed up. And it was kind of similar like a motorway accident, except a lot quicker. The thing for me was how it lifted the Jaguar up over the top of Cassidy, landed on top of the roll hoop of him. And I have to say, we were very, very lucky there with the way that then bounced down. Just shows another testament to the strength of the cars, but also another testament to the fact that in this championship, you have to be absolutely precise every single time. There's no time for let-up.
We're really grateful that obviously both men walked away totally unscathed from that. But in terms of the championship standings, it has metamorphosized it.
Yeah, definitely. Today has really been the one that's thrown it open. And they both walked away, but the championship might have slipped away from both of them. Definitely from Mitch Evans. He is now quite a long way behind. For Nick Cassidy, yes, he's 24 points behind. He's got a real chance of it. But it is going to take a little bit of Dennis having a problem, I think. Because Dennis can now go into London and just think, right, how do I manage this? He's won there before, so he understands how to do it, but he can now manage it, and it's going to take real commitment, I think, from Cassidy to attack. And so it's going to show a good race, no question, but now there's different strategies between the teams.
There's always jeopardy in Formula E, even if you're leading and you've got Norman Nato from Nissan right up behind you. Again, there were a couple of moments where I thought, oh my goodness, could Jake be out as well? Fortunately, wasn't the case, but it unfolded.
Yeah, this was a nudge down the inside with Dennis, and to be honest, it wasn't on in my opinion. It was a bit late and it was a bit half-hearted, and it caught the front wing. In this situation, you've got to go for it or not at all, because if you half go for it, that front wing is so sensitive to damage that it can get knocked like that, and then it harms your performance. But Nato, I think, from there did an excellent job to recover the composure, keep the energy management going and finish second. Something we saw that Nissan had the potential of yesterday with Sasha Fenestraz. He was leading yesterday, so the Nissan really is coming back into the game.
We can obviously see we're just a few moments away from the podium celebrations getting underway. But in terms of Norman Nato, what it spoke to me, and in terms of Sam Bird's obviously got team championships to think about as well, trying to help his partner Mitch. But in terms of Norman Nato, he's just an out-and-out winner. He didn't want to be on the podium, he wanted to win. Yeah,
for sure he wants to win. And I know that team, Michael Andretti, without doubt, is going to take the enjoyment of winning this particular race, because he came here. This is an important championship for Andretti Autosports. They've supported the championship from the beginning. They were right in at the beginning. And it's been some years where they've been very strong, some years a bit weaker. But this one, they've got a real chance of taking the big title, taking the trophy back home. And today, without doubt, with Jake Dennis, they delivered a perfect result.
And let's watch Jake take the trophy here for the second race here at the Rome E-Prix.
Well, the drivers making their way onto the podium. First of all, the team representative for Avalanche Andretti. That is
in
Michael
Andretti.
Andretti,
From
of course.
TCS Racing, Sam Bird.
Sam Bird making his way into third place. His fourth podium of the 2023 season. Hasn't been the strongest of years for the British driver. And you wonder whether this is going to do him some favours in finding possible employment for the 2024 FIA Formula E World Championship, because there are a lot of rumours floating about that he will not be lining up with Jaguar for next year, subject to official confirmation, of course. But nonetheless, I'm sure he'll be soaking that up and relishing the fact that he finished in third place and brought home some crucial points for the Jaguar team, which is very important, of course, for their title fight in the team's standings. It's been a weekend of two halves for that outfit as well, with Bird failing to finish yesterday, Mitch Evans taking the win. Bird on the podium today, Mitch Evans failing to finish. So third place on the podium.
Second place from Nissan Formula E team, Norman Nato.
Next up, Norman Nato. What a fantastic result. Only his second podium in Formula E history, his first of the 2023 season, with a battle-scarred car as well. Fought through adversity, and it's been a concern from us in the commentary box that the end of that race, whether he was going to be able to make it with the amount of energy, but the Nissan team calculated it to absolute perfection. Did they make a blunder, or did they play a blinder? It was the latter, fortunately for Norman Nato. We'll be delighted with that. Unfortunately, the other side of the garage, Sasha Fenestraz finishing a lap down after partaking in qualifying and then subsequently being on the back foot for the race. His teammates.
And now our winner from Avalanche Andretti, Jake Dennis.
Now then, for Jake Dennis, Last time we won was back in Mexico City, and here this afternoon, after round 14 in the baking sunshine of Rome, it is the Briton who bounces back onto the top step as he embraces his Andretti team and makes his way through to the podium, giving him a healthy points lead in the championship, the Drivers' Championship. As we head into London, and who is a man who knows that circuit very well and always seems to go well around there? Well, it's your race winner from today, Jake Dennis. Could this be the year for Jake to take the title? He came oh so close back in 2021 in his rookie season, of course with the Andretti team, but as BMW Andretti as they were known back then. Now as the Avalanche Andretti outfit, they've got possibly their best opportunity
anthem of the winning driver from
to take the
Britain.
title this year. British national anthem plays out for Jake Dennis.
The winning team from the USA.
Now for Avalanche Andretti's national anthem as well. Jake Dennis
Congratulations
on the top
to
step
all
on the
our
podium
winners.
for
Please
the
welcome
second
to the stage
time in
Manfred
2023.
Sandvitzer, the Director of Motorsport at
Now it's
Hankook
time for
Rome
the trophies to be presented.
The winning team, Avalanche Andretti.
First of all, to the winning team of Avalanche Andretti, Manfred Sandvitzer, the Director of Hankook, the Director of Motorsport at Hankook Tire Europe.
And now please welcome
winning
Jeff
team
Dodds,
trophy
the
to
CEO
Michael
of Formula
Andretti.
E, to present the trophy to the third
Jeff
place
Dodds,
driver,
the CEO of Formula E,
Sam
presenting the third
Bird.
place trophy to Sam Bird. What a recovery, what a turnaround in fortunes. That is why professional racing drivers are some of the most highly regarded athletes in the world, being able to put those unfortunate incidents to the back of their minds, focus on the job at hand,
Chief
bounce back
Officer, to present
with a
the
bang
trophy to the second
for
place
Bird.
driver, Norman Nato.
Second place trophy presented to Norman Nato. What a result for the Frenchman. Kalatash, the Saudi Group Chief Marketing Officer, presenting that second place trophy to him.
Welcome Alessandro
Now time then for the winner's trophy. Alessandro Onorato, the Councillor for Events, Sport, Tourism and Fashion at Roma Capital. To Jake Dennis. What a race, controlled that one from lights out to checkered flag, led every single lap and got the fastest lap to boot as well.
Mazzone to present the Moet to our winning driver, Jake
Now time for the Moet champagne to be presented to the drivers.
It's time to celebrate.
Superfan Eduardo Mazzone presenting it to Jake Dennis. And now stand back as the drivers spray the champagne. What a result as the confetti flies. The cheers and applause in the crowd await Jake Dennis after what was an amazing drive from the Briton. He was frustrated after race one yesterday. absolutely fantastic. But of course, it's all eyes on the title fight at the front as we head to London in a couple of weeks' time. Well, Jake Dennis then takes an absolutely critical victory for Avalanche Andretti. The Formula E Unplugged team are down there as well. If you want to watch Season 2, by the way, it's all available for free on the official Formula E app, and it is absolutely superb. Here's what happened, though, in the race. As you can see, some highlights. Jake Dennis led the way from Nick Cassidy at the start of this one. Saw some good moves trying to be made with Edo Mortara and Mitch Evans going side by side for third. Eventually, Norman Nato and Mitch Evans going side by side there for third. Eventually, Nato managing to get the better of the Kiwi, and then Nato also made his way up the inside of Cassidy as well for second. The two Jaguars lining astern in 4th and 5th place at this race. You wondered when Evans was going to pounce. He needed to make the moves early doors as Cassidy tried to challenge against Nato. There was a bit of hip and shoulder between the two as Cassidy then got himself back up and through to second place. But this was the moment that defined the race for Mitch Evans and in turn Nick Cassidy as well. Losing it under braking in towards turn 7 over the back of the Envision car, sending Mitch Evans out into retirement and Nick Cassidy out of the points, ruining both of their races and of course costing them critical points in their championship challenge as well. Jake Dennis was so lucky to not be too involved with that. I think he got a bit of a tag on the back there, but he otherwise escaped relatively unharmed. Caused a bit of a concertina behind there as well. Some other drivers getting into a bit of strife as a result of Mitch Evans' car being stricken at the side of the track and there being no room for any of the drivers to make their way through. It was a spare for James Barkley and for Sylvain Filippi. Mitch Evans clambered out of his car. Meanwhile, back at the sharp end of the field, Jake Dennis came under increasing pressure from Norman Nato, and it gave the Frenchman in second damage to his Nissan on the front wing. We wondered whether he might have to pit for that, but he carried on as best as he could, as we saw recovery drives through the field. As you can see here, Sebastian Buemi making his way through on Dan Tickton. There was a bit of an incident here involving Lucas de Grassi and one of the Porsches, sending de Grassi into the wall and subsequently to retirement. And then we saw Bird attacking Norman Nato, Jake Dennis, I should say, right in the closing stages of the race. Bird trying to find his way through, but unfortunately for him, no room at the inn. Into the wall there on the outside for de Grassi. Bit of contact with de Grassi at the back there with Jake Hughes in the Neon McLaren as well. Meanwhile, at the sharp end, Jake Dennis began extending his lead out the sharp end of the field. A hugely impressive drive it was from the Briton. Mature, calm, and as controlled as he possibly could. He came around the final corner to take his second win of the 2023 season, followed by Norman Nato and Sam Bird completing the podium. 24 points is the advantage that he holds in the drivers' title fight. What a great result for him and the Avalanche Andretti team. Delight for Jake Dennis, then let's get all the reaction down with Radzi and the team. With us in just a couple of moments' time. Great result for Avalanche and Andretti. Let's get down to Radzi then, shall we?
What a difference 24 hours can make. We started the day with that man there trailing Nick Cassidy by 5 points. At the end of play, he now leads the championship by over 20. What a performance it was. From light to flag, perfection. Let's remind ourselves of the results from today's incredible race by handing back to Tom Brooks.
Yeah, cheers, Radzi. What a great round 14 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship we have had. It is Jake Dennis with his second win of 2023 ahead of Norman Nato for his second podium of the season and a fourth podium of the year for Sam Bird. The two Maseratis inside the top 10, Edo Mortara in fourth just ahead of Sebastian Buemi's Envision, then Max Günther ahead of Pascal Wehrlein, recovered from 15th on the grid up into 7th with the checkered flag ahead of then Dan Ticktum and Stoffel van Dorn. Nico Müller completing the top 10. Just outside was Jake Hughes in the Neon McLaren ahead of Felix Acosta, Rene Rast, Nick Cassidy outside of the points. The two Kiwis, no scores on the board for them. We saw drama on the final lap with Andre Lotterer and Nick Cassidy. Bit of contact between the two, sending Lotterer out of the race and out of points-paying contention. But in points-paying contention and in the best position to take the title in London in a couple of weeks' time is the hometown boy, Jake Dennis, heading on to his home circuit. 195 points, 24 to the good of Nick Cassidy, and subsequently even further ahead of Mitch Evans. Pascal Wehrlein is pretty much out of it now, unfortunately, at the top of the order. Let's have a look at the team standings, though. Envision Racing, 253 points, just 14 to the good of Tag Heuer Porsche. Jaguar TCS Racing and also Avalanche Andretti moving themselves closer with just 2 races remaining in the season. Well, that's the standings then. Let's head down to Ollie and Saunders to get all the latest.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Now, we're down at the E-Pad, Oliver Askew joining me. We're going to talk about this moment right near the start of the race with Mitch Evans and Nick Cassidy. A huge moment for the championship, huge moment for the race, of course. This is the first angle we're going to look at from the sky, from the helicopter cam, and this is where the drama starts to unfold. Talk us through, Oliver.
Yeah, I want to preface this by saying this is just an unfortunate racing incident, and an incident that I think by the end of the season in London we're going to look back at and think this is when Mitch Evans lost his chance and potentially gave Jake Dennis, a chance to then take it home at the end. So, yes, very unfortunate. Mitch Evans, was on the dirty side of the track, just broke slightly too late, and as he was approaching the two drivers, he knows that he's possibly going to make contact with them. He has no other choice but to add more brake pressure. As we see here and on board with Norman Nato.
Let's watch that back and just go back a little bit and slow it down, because this is a great little onboard here.
Yeah, as we see the rear axle of Mitch Evans' car jumps up in the air in the middle of that braking zone in turn 7, and that's not helping slow down the car either.
Just like a ragdoll, isn't it? Just sent around. That's remarkable to see.
Another testament to the safety of these cars, because he went completely over Nick Cassidy's car, and thanks to the roll hoop and the halo, he didn't make any contact to the top of his helmet.
They tried their best to do what they could to fix it and get the car back out, but of course that was the end of the race for Mitch Evans, and potentially, like he said, potentially the end of his championship hopes.
Well, it really is, and actually this car behind us managed to avoid all of that action. And Alan, you kept your beady eye on it. Is there any damage whatsoever here? It's the luck of millimetres. We saw Cassidy in the damage there, and also for Mitch Evans. Normally there's a small light down here. You can see the cable that is disjointed, and that is from that incident. It was just a kiss and he got away with it. But then if you come around this side, the mark on the tyre, and that is from the Nissan of Nato when he moved up the inside. That's the front wing that touched it. So in reality, Jake Dennis just sort of managed his way through these situations. And you need those good fortunes. And the good fortune is that he was leading. He was at the front of the pack, and so he's outside of those incidents where people are trying to make up positions. Alan, thank you for that insight. Another thing Alan said, I said going into London, it was a shame that it couldn't be closer. And he just said really simply, if this man goes into a wall and Nick Cassidy wins, it's all level square. Well, with that in mind, it's very much not over in the championship hunt for Nick Cassidy. Let's hear what he said after this one.
Nick Cassidy, I'm not even sure what to say to you right now. How are you feeling? That is a very, very tough one to swallow.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just very, very tough one to swallow. Very, very heartbreaking, but it's where it goes.
So talk us through the moments in the race and what you can tell us from the car of that first incident with Mitch.
I can't really tell you too much. I was obviously second at the time and went to the outside of Jake. Don't really know what happened after that. It's just, yeah.
It didn't feel as if the race even got much easier at that point once you were able to get out, and even the safety car helping. It felt like it was a constant challenge all the way right to the end.
Well, the thing is with today's race is it was much shorter than yesterday's, so the pace was more flat out, and that means that there's not really much lifting around a track like this. It's very difficult to overtake. So even with the speed in our car, which today was probably the best of the season, so full credit to my team. It made it very difficult to overtake. At the same time, it was probably going to be our easiest podium of the year. It was one race of the year that you need to start up front, so yeah, a bit disappointing with that result, I guess.
You can see how much it hurts, so thanks for talking to us.
Thanks.
I'm not sure what the primary sense is there, whether it's just genuine disappointment or disbelief, but it's somewhere in between the two.
Yeah, I definitely think it is a bit of disbelief, disappointment. They will lick their wounds without question, come into London with a very clear mindset. For them, it's to win, get back into the game and play for Sunday. So Saturday is all about getting to Sunday for the drivers like Nick Cassidy and also a little bit Mitch Evans as well.
And for Jake Dennis, he's coming home to a building that he loves to perform in. It's indoor and it's outdoor in terms of the circuit there. How will Jake manage this one?
Yeah, he's got a very different situation, 24-point gap, but he knows as well it can turn in a 9-pins. It can be exactly the opposite side. It was millimetres today from him being in the wall as well. But I think they will go into it wanting to be as far forward as possible without taking excessive risks.
Is there a sense that for Mitch, for Nick, there's now nothing to lose? You just go for it.
Sure. This is a World Championship we're talking about. The only person that really remembers who finished second or third in the World Championship is the person that finished second or third. Everybody wants to win it. That's what it's all about. That's what their DNA is, to win.
And this is the biggest prize in electric racing. This is what it's all about. It couldn't be much more exciting. Just 2 races left, one location, the London XL Arena. It will all kick off in just over 2 weeks' time. We cannot wait for it. The weather will possibly not be quite so brutal, but it has to be said, we're going to be there. And on the year of the King's coronation, we will find out who is the true king of Formula E. It's not to be missed. We'll see you then. The Hankook Rome E-Prix. Prepare to be entertained.
It's Sam Bird! Down! Oh no, that's absolutely huge! Red flag! What a drive from Mitch Evans. It's Dennis with pole position. And the Hankook Rome E-Prix is underway. Oh, Mitch Evans, go! Jake Dennis comes across the line to win round 14.